There's no sports league unlike it anywhere in the world, where cartoons and football come together. This is the United States Cartoon Football League, celebrating its 40th anniversary.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones, they're the modern Stone Age family. From the town of Bedrock, they're a page right out of history. Let's ride with the family down the street, through the courtesy of friends to beat. When you're with the Flintstones, have a yabba-dabba-doo time, a dabba-doo time, we'll have a gay old time. Meet George Jetson. His boy Elroy. Daughter Judy. Jane, his wife.
Greetings, cartoon and football fans, and especially fans of classic Hanna-Barbera. This is Bob Mozark of the USCFL Network. In our continuing series of episode runoffs, we're pitting two of Hanna-Barbera's most beloved and memorable franchises, the Flintstones and the Jetsons, in a 12-week contest. As with all of our episode runoffs, football scoring will be used. We are pitting the episodes from our library of shows as they appear in alphabetical order. However, the information shown on screen is in their order of appearance. As we go round into round 11 and the next to the last round, the Flintstones has a lead of 13 points. It is now mathematically impossible for the Jetsons to catch up and win. The score is the Flintstones 73, the Jetsons 60. After a brief pause, we will begin round 11 of the Flintstones versus the Jetsons episode runoff. The first episode is the Flintstones Season 5, Episode 5, Bedrock Rodeo Round-Up. This was the 119th overall episode of the Flintstones. The plot is one that was used in several episodes. Fred meets an old boyfriend or childhood acquaintance of Wilma, who is invariably successful in whatever career they have chosen. Fred feels insecure or jealous and attempts to show off his skills, but ends up making a fool of himself. In this case, the former friend is cowboy Boney Hurdle, who is now a trick rider on the rodeo circuit. Wilma has invited him to dinner and prepares deviled pterodactyl eggs and roast pterodactyl, which she rarely cooks for Fred. Pebbles is enamored with Boney and worse, even calls him Dada when he plays with her. Boney gives the Flintstones and Rubbles tickets to the rodeo, and Fred decides to enter as a masked contestant. First, Boney appears on his trained dinosaur, which he has named after Wilma. After Boney demonstrates his mastery of several types of rodeo riding, Fred enters as a masked rider on the Stegosaurus, who proceeds to throw Fred about the arena. Fred's trademark yell of Yabba Dabba Doo alerts Wilma and Pebbles as to the identity of the masked rider, and Wilma is concerned for his safety. Fred is then face-to-face in front of a Triceratops, which hurls him into a barrel, which is then crashed into the locker room. A dazed Fred is surprised to find out that Boney and Rockjaw Brady, the rodeo impresario, think that Fred is a skilled acrobat, and Fred is even offered a contract to tour with the rodeo, which he turns down. This was the first appearance of Boney Hurdle, whose poster appears on the wall in Pebbles' room. He has cameo appearances in several more episodes and even shows up at the wedding of Pebbles and Bam Bam. Boney was voiced by Alan Melvin, who was the voice of Magilla Gorilla and Alex's boyfriend Sam the Butcher on the Brady Bunch. The next episode is the Jetsons Season 2, Episode 34, Dog Daze Afternoon. This is chronologically the 58th episode of the Jetsons. Mr. Spacely demonstrates his new product, a teleportation booth, to George and tells George that he will demonstrate it at a business convention the next day in Las Vegas, and that Jane can come along with them. Spacely gives George the computer disk for the transporter to bring with him and safeguard it from corporate spies. At first, the Jetsons are not sure about both of them leaving the children alone, since Rosie is in the shop for maintenance, but Judy convinces them that she is responsible enough to babysit Elroy, who is working on a new invention. The invention is a dog training device, and George mistakenly takes its computer disk with him to Las Vegas instead of the Spacely Sprocket's teleportation disk. When Jane calls Judy to check on things, Judy conceals that she has flooded the apartment washing clothes. When Elroy tries his training device, he does not understand why the dogs disappear. When Spacely demonstrates the teleportation device in Las Vegas, George starts acting like a dog and chases Spacely around the convention. Their trip ruined, Jane takes George home using a leash and collar. Elroy figures out what has happened and restores George to normal. The missing dogs have been teleported to the roof of the apartment building, and Elroy brings them back as well. Spacely then calls George and tells him that the dog training booth was a big hit and gives George a bonus, which George shares with Elroy and Judy. He tells Jane that he will now take her back to Las Vegas for a proper vacation. We will now briefly pause before returning with the scores and wrap-up.
Shake up the picture, there's a mixture with your days on the eventide. You got me coming with answers all of which I deny. I said it again, but could I please rephrase it? Maybe I can catch your eye. I couldn't really put it much plainer, but I'll wait till you decide. Send me a warning siren, as if I could ever hide. Last time, la la la, I lied my tongue.
Wrap-up. Bedrock Rodeo Round-Up used a familiar plot and is mostly noteworthy for being the first appearance of Boney Hurdle. I give this episode a 6. Daze Afternoon also used several familiar plot devices, specifically Spacely trusting Jetson with something important for the company, but George manages to mess things up. Judy was not as knowledgeable about running a home as she thought she was and gains a deeper appreciation of her mother's skills. Elroy's precocious mechanical genius is also on display. I give this episode a 7. As always, viewers are welcome to submit their own reviews and scores. This is Bob Mozart from the USCFL Network signing off until next week when the final episodes of the Flintstones Jetsons Challenge will be run. After that, we will return to reviewing the final half season of Masters of the Universe. Thank you and have a good week.